So, from my perspective, I just want to share something here. We've had 3 winners. This is the 3rd press conference, and we have a 4th we're going to go do. But out of 3, 2 of the 3 said this to me when I met them. The first people that won in Dallas, Texas said, the husband said, I'm on disability and we had 2 months of money left when we found the wish lamp. That was very moving to me. When I met Tyler and Melissa said, we've been using the sale of our home and we have 2 months of money left. What's the chances? Right? Think about that. So if you haven't got the drift, I'm trying to build a company that comes into people's lives and helps them. Real people need money. And if we can get 1,000 of them a year instead of 8, it's going to be a lot better place. Plus their money is going to go into their communities. Okay. So I was thrilled that it was this family and that we were able to give them an opportunity because we didn't do it for them. This lady here wanted to save her family. And I don't think there was any stopping her at all. Like she was going to find that lamp and she did. So now I'm going to have you guys tell the story of how you found the lamp because the world wants to know. So you can.
They do. Okay, give me just a moment to compose myself here. So I will start with the clues. I mean, first when I went through the poem, it was nonsensical. It made my brain hurt. I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I said, okay, I'm just going to throw us to the side for a minute. I started working on the clues.
Excuse me for a minute. So for those of you who don't know, in treasure games, when a region activates, the first clue is a poem. It's a really long, hard poem. And the idea is if you could decipher that, it'll take you to the location the lamp is at. So when she says she couldn't work the poem, anyone that reads that poem on day one is gonna be like, oh, this is too hard, it's too complicated, it doesn't make any sense at all. Well, of course it's hard. It's worth $1 million, right? But people usually give up on day one. They're actually starting to crack it a little faster. But anyway, when she said she didn't want to work the poem, she put it aside. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah, so we kind of said, I need a break on that. I started going through all of the clues. We were able, since we started so late, not so late, but like I think it was July 24th, we had 48 clues already at our disposal. So we solved those pretty quickly. And then I realized, okay, well, these have to mean something. They can't just be as nonsensical as the poem. So I wanted to break them up into the regions that Region 10 is. We have the North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. And I took all the answers and I researched every single answer. Like you can see Black Caesar popped up in North Carolina and in Florida, and then also in South Carolina. So I wrote down the answer and I researched what does that have to do with each state? And then I wrote them down into each of them. I at first plotted all of them, and then you can see my dots to make sure I'd actually done it on a map to see if maybe there was an X, like a path, something. Does it do anything? Didn't really. They were kind of all over the place. So then I was like, okay, this isn't, my brain can't read this right. So then I put it into this chart. Which state is it? It's South Carolina. So when so that really helped us. Mm-hmm. We got that. Then
they're getting 2 clues a day in the game, okay? And they're just solving them along with the poem.
And then since we had started, closer towards the end of that first month, the rangefinder had been released. And I had gotten a green over this area, and I know you can't really see it here, but it's kind of half up in North Carolina and half up or down in South Carolina. Well, again, back to that chart, it's in South Carolina. It's not in North Carolina. So I just kind of ignored all that. Then we looked on a map and we were like, okay, what is in that area? What major cities are there? And really the only 2 major cities were Greenville and Spartanburg. So then I went back to the questions. I guess we'll use this one. I went back to the clues, not the questions. So I went back to the clues and I was like, okay, what do these clues have to do with either Greenville or Spartanburg? And a lot of them were really pointing to Spartanburg. I mean, let me think. So I know the answer for this one was the Tybee Island Lighthouse, but I didn't think of it that way. It means something else. There's a beacon. We've got the beacon here in Spartanburg. Okay, the Coca-Cola factory. There's a Coca-Cola factory here as well that is, old and shut down.
Part of it at that time too is when we started really trying to figure out where it is.
Then we
We
went back
realized
to
that the poem, like the questions were helpful. This is where it was at. You had to solve the poem to get the answer, to find where the treasure is. And so at that point, we started taking each section, then each line, and eventually almost to each word.
Yeah, because I was kind of fed up with the poem, to be honest with you. So then I went back to the press conference for the first winners and the second winners, and I watched them explain the poem. I wanted to see was there something specific words that they were picking out. And that's when I discovered down here, and don't get me wrong, this was wrong in the end, but it did get me out the door. It said, even that one-eyed William had vision more clear. I wanted to focus on the word vision and William. I said, is there a William eye doctor in Greenville or Spartanburg? There was a one-eyed William, Dr. Billy Haywood here in Spartanburg, and he actually has an office right down the street from Willie Taco. And I was like, okay, I think that's the breakthrough. And they were all upstairs, and again, I'm like hunkering down in my bedroom, sad and depressed, trying to figure this thing out. And I was like, I have a breakthrough. Everybody, you have 30 minutes to get packed and in the car, or I'm leaving you behind. It's like, I have to go to this Dr. Billy Haywood's. I get to Dr. Billy's. Nothing was there. I guess we're missing the treasure views.
Oh, yeah, the treasure views.
So that's actually
they're
helpful
on
too.
there.
The treasure views. So there was one of just dirt, and then there was this one. And it was my husband, because I couldn't wrap my head around this, but it was my husband who's like, the camera is pointed up between two,
Well, I said through.
or
it's
through it, but
looking through a small gap.
So let me help some of you here. So this up here, when she said rangefinder, part of the game is you get 2 clues a day for the subscription, you get the poem, but you can buy advantages if you want to at certain times in the game. One of them is a rangefinder. You can drop a pin on a map, and it'll tell you 100 miles, red or green, right? So they used a little bit of the rangefinder, but then they had a thing called treasure views. And what those are pictures from the lamp's point of view. And they're terrible pictures on purpose. Like, you don't know what they are until you get closer. Then they make sense. But if you just open it up and you see a black box with a line through it, you're like, well, what is that? Why did I pay for that? Right? Well, every winner we've had has used the treasure views at the last moment to figure out where they were. So she's talking about some advantage clues. One's called a rangefinder, the other one's called treasure views.
So yeah, when we went to Dr. Billy's, I was looking for just anything like this. There was nothing on the ground around the building. It just didn't make sense. There was nowhere. We were looking in the trees for the lamp. It just wasn't there. So we decided, let's go back to the hotel and just decipher that poem again and figure it out. And then that's when we started also writing down, like, from all the different things. We had gotten Willie Tacos, because obviously it had to be a one-eyed William, and it wasn't Dr. Billy. So I'm like, okay, let's go check that out, because it's always been on my list. Then just other ones like Alibaba, the Sparkle Putt Putt, Paradise Lanes, the Beacon Restaurant. I mean, we had a bunch of them that we were like, okay, we think because of this word or that word that it could correlate to that. So our first stop was, we were going to head to Willie Taco, but we stopped at Rejuvenescence because it said something along the lines of, in the essence, it'll appear.
Mm-hmm.
So we stopped there. Again, I'm looking for this dirt, nothing around the building. We were going to stop at the Egg and I, which is like right on the right-hand side when you pass Rejuvenescence. And we got cut off by a car and ended up not being able to. And we're like, okay, let's just go to Willie's Taco. I know everybody's hungry. I'm sorry. Let me just look real quick. We walked the whole building, again, looking for this dirt, nothing. I told Tyler, I said, if we have to come back, I want like a blown up map of Spartanburg, and I want to like X out this whole entire shopping center. I'm not leaving the shopping center until every building has been scoured and torn apart. So we walked to another building. I can't remember what that was. And then we walked to the Oops boutique. And then that resonated with us. We were like, oh my gosh, what was the one line? Do you remember?
Foolish decision.
Yeah.
How foolish. Oops.
Yeah, foolish. Oops. So we're like, okay, this is something. And then we walked around the building And down below was this huge, we were standing on this huge bluff, and there was the river down below, and it was just so pretty. And there was another,
Yeah.
it mentions bluff in
Hover.
here, and then what if I hover at my, or what will I discover? And so we're like, oh, it's down there. So we're walking around. We make sure, because there's more buildings this way. We're making sure we check all of those just in case, still looking for this dirt.
We actually ran into somebody from Willie's Tacos.
Yeah.
Because they were closed that day. He's like,
The
"What are y'all doing
manager.
here?" 3 kids in PJs wandering around their building. They're like,
Yeah. He's like, what? Can I help you? And I'm like, I am so sorry. We're looking for treasure. And I know that sounds Looney Tunes, but I am. So then anyways, we checked all those buildings, we vetted them, and then we found the entrance to the path. And on it, it says it was sponsored by Willie Taco.
"Yeah, Willie Taco Way."
Willie Taco Way. We ended up going left initially. We were checking the trees. We were checking under benches,
Houses.
bird houses. We were looking for
Waterfall.
anything. We got to this area where there's like a Sasquatch sign and the dam and the waterfall. And at that point, my oldest son was like, I am hungry. I was like, fine, okay, we'll go, let's go. And we're heading back, and I come to where that split was, where you go back up to the entrance of the path, or you can go right. And I just
We're gonna check a little bit.
had this feeling. I said, I'm not leaving. I'm sorry, Wyatt. You can give me 10 more minutes. Please, please, please. Like, I will give you anything after this. Let me just check real quick. And there's also, because when you go right, there was the signs.
Different names of companies and people that have
That has-
sponsored.
Yeah, sponsored it. And we wanted to see, okay, is there a name on there that matches a poem or the clues? Nothing. But then we saw that bridge, and I was like, that's what that is. It's the wood planks on the bridge, and they put the camera up and they took a picture from above. And then I start seeing that dirt too.
All of the piers for the bridge.
We did get lucky. There was a little bit of divine intervention. I don't know. Somebody was watching over us. I don't know. But I look under the bridge. Tyler and the boys, well, not boys, but all the kids go over. And I at first was looking, like when you get to the bridge, there's like, like the section underneath of it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm digging in the small parts, like wondering, like, did Dirk hide it in this? I was cussing myself. Please, Dirk, I mean it. You
Snakes and
are gonna
spiders.
get me bit by a spider or a snake or something. And then I started just, each section just started looking under, and then
It was like the second section.
it was just sitting there. And I was like, there's a box. There's a box. I started shaking, and then I told my husband, that's when if you watch the video footage, you can see.
Turn the camera on.
I
Turn the
was like,
camera
"Get
on.
that camera on now. Oh my gosh." And yeah, so we ran over to it. We used you log into the app, and then you can scan the barcodes with it, and it said, congratulations, you're the winners. And then the next screen, it was like invalid code.
And
I am
inactive.
And it was like 110-degree heat index. I am sitting there just like sweating profusely trying to figure this out. We are not able to get.
PJs.
I'm like, maybe I'm just not smart enough to use a QR code. I was like, you do it, Tyler. And then I turned around because you'd watched all the other winners, and they could talk to Dirk, and Dirk could see them through the camera. So I'm turning around and I'm like, hey, you up there, where are you? I have your box. I can't get in it. Can you call me? And then at one point we said, I'm taking your box. And we walked away with it. And
that's when we messaged Dirk through the app and said, hey, we got a box in Spartanburg. Can we get into it? And we left and went to a gas station, and then he ended up calling my wife right as we got there. And, do you know who this is? And she starts freaking out. I know you. I know your voice. I know your voice.
Well, and then I guess we skipped over a little bit, which I'm sure some people would like an answer on. And this was just a silly mistake on our behalf, why we thought there was another lamp, or this was the lamp that wasn't found. When you look on the app, there's, season 1 and season 2 for each of the regions. Well, on some of them, the season 1 had the lamp found, But on ours, there was nothing there, and then it said open season for season 2. So we were like, well, maybe
We thought
maybe
there was a
somebody didn't
season
find the
one.
plan from season 1 and it just rolled over. We had no clue. We were just trying to figure out why the heck this box isn't opening. So hopefully that clarifies that for you guys.